And we're live with the Pro Football Pod. We got a duo episode showing you guys the start sit advice for this coming week of fantasy football. So earlier I was we're gonna last week I just kind of went through some of my teams to give people an idea of like what my decision making was until we had some people jumping in the live stream. Do you have the chat pulled up, Justin, in case somebody sends some questions?
I am getting it pulled up now. So yes,
Perfect.
it will be pulled up.
Perfect. So yeah, I was kind of talking about some of the decisions I made this week. I wanted to talk to you about this one. So I've got three running backs to make a decision on. I've got Zach
Mhm.
Moss, James Conner, and Miles Sanders. I went with James Conner and Zach Moss because of the Miles Sanders groin injury. Carolina's got Minnesota this week. They are wet paper towels to run through. But Miles Sanders' injury means he could be limited. He could end up not taking a lot of snaps in the second half, and that terrifies me a little bit to go for that early. What do you think there?
Yeah, I agree. I like that. I would have probably gone the same just because Zach Moss last week, I pulled him out because, yeah, he's the only back, but I was like, they're going up against the Ravens, probably going to be a hard day for him. And he still put up 13 fantasy points. So,
And look good doing it, putting up
yeah.
10, 15-yard runs. Like it wasn't like they just handed him the ball 32 times like they did for Demont on Thursday.
Exactly. So yeah, I probably would have gone the same. Now I'm forced to start Miles Sanders in one of my leagues just because I
Okay.
don't have the backups necessary. But it's also one of those to where I'm not entirely like panicking as well. Like I don't expect him to put up a 20-point day at all, but I also, just kind of hoping for give me just like a solid 12.
Now, I also have Damian Pierce versus Pittsburgh and Justice Hill versus Cleveland, but neither of them are really starting caliber on my rosters yet. Damian Pierce this week could be if I was forced to play him, if I didn't have a James Conner who's just so consistent, or Alexander Madison versus Carolina, which I am playing in my flex, then I think that Damian Pierce would be a good start. But I'm still scared. I mean, what if CJ Stroud's look good, but do you think the odds of them being up or not less than three score difference at half is high or low? Because I don't know if Pittsburgh's pass rush is going to be something that CJ Stroud's going to struggle with.
Well, with their two starting offensive tackles out, I do see them having to go to more of a quick passing game plan just because he's simply not going to have the time. But I also don't think the Steelers' offense is explosive enough to where the Texans are going to have to worry about being down by 2 to 3 scores unless a defensive touchdown is thrown in there for the Steelers.
Okay.
So like one of my favorite bets this week was CJ Stroud over his passing yards. The guy's thrown for over 235 yards in each of his first three starts. And in a game to where they're expected to be behind, I don't see that happening. I don't see him not reaching that plateau again.
Yeah.
So almost every parlay I have CJ Stroud, his alternate line over 200 passing yards. Yeah, it's like minus 330, so it's giving you juice, but you're just throwing it in a parlay for a little bit of a bonus. And to me, it's enough of a bonus and almost enough of a sure thing, barring any kind of an injury or just an insane 4 turnover day. I don't see him not reaching 200 passing yards today. So, fantasy wise, you're looking at what, at least 8 points in
His
passing
over is
yards?
only 200 yards.
No,
Like,
his over under, I think last time I looked it was set at like 235. Let me get it pulled up here and I'll give you the exact number. But still, even so, like the for his 200 yards to be just minus 330, that to me was
235.5.
yeah. So like that to me just seems low. The only reason I see that being low is because it's not setting up for as much of a shootout. Like the Steelers are going to run the ball, the clock's going to tick. So he's not going
I
to
see
get
that.
as many opportunities. But again, when you look at the second half, the Texans are it's just a team full of trash men. Like you're just getting all of those garbage time points from a Texans player, and I'll ride Texans players all year because of that.
Okay. Another question that we had was
Let me put it this way: I like Stroud over Kenny Pickett if you're having to choose between the two players this week.
I like that too. Kenny Pickett's not someone I'm looking to play this week, even though Houston's banged up in their secondary, and their secondary has been the only part of their defense that's not bottom 25 in the league. I just don't. I don't know. With having the new head coach there, I'm his name is flying over my head from 49ers, the head Houston's head coach.
Oh, D'Amico.
D'Amico Ryan. So his system obviously hasn't like the 49ers from last year is not Houston's defense this year. And that wasn't the expectation going in the first couple weeks, but we expect that by the end of the year that should be their, what makes them a team is that they're going to be playing great defense. I am expecting to see a little bit more of that today versus Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett's offense has been historically bad. I mean, they're the worst offense in football, even after having a decent week last week. So I feel like that game looks like it should be really offensive, and it's gonna be more defensive because of Houston. I think everyone expects Pittsburgh to put up. I mean, they're -3 right now.
Yeah, and the over under's only 41.5. So they only see at max 6 touchdowns being scored in this game. So yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of just ball control, and it's just going to be an old school style type of game.
Do you have any hard decisions on your rosters? Anything like that you've been looking at?
No really hard decisions because on my rosters, most of my hard decisions are canceled out by injuries. So, like I said, like with the Miles Sanders thing, I'm just kind of forced to start some people. Now, with Saquon popping up as doubtful for Monday night, I'm having to scramble there and try to figure out, what I'm going to do as far as replacing him for this week. But it was also, I didn't really expect him back either. So probably going to be a plug-in Zach Moss type of thing. I have Matt Breida on my roster, but he's just not effective enough for me to even want to throw him in there at all. And then these London games, like this game going on this morning, that always throws you off as well because just simply you've got to remember to either set your lineup that morning or luckily we didn't have any major injuries we had to be concerned with going into this game
Because we
because
knew
those are the
Eckler was
ones
going to
where
be
you've got to
out.
wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning and be like, oh, is Kyle Pitts going to play or not? Like, I need to
Exactly.
know that.
Yeah, there wasn't anybody that like we haven't had that part of the season where like someone's doubtful or questionable all week and they're going to be a game time decision and you've got to make that like right now. It hasn't really happened cuz like we've known for the most part what's going to happen. We knew Aaron Jones was missing last week cuz he didn't practice all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
I had one where in my flexes I have Jerome Ford and Puka Nakua. Um I started Jameer Gibbs earlier in the week and Amon Ra. And we've got Joe Mixon sitting there. He's playing against Tennessee, and Joe Mixon's been having a great season. But I just feel like even though Jerome Ford is going up against Baltimore, that my expectations for him to be able to do more than just what his projection are higher. And it's a bit of a risky move. I mean, we have players like George Pickens and DJ Moore, Rashad White. Like, we have options of who to play in that final flex. And even though it's versus Baltimore, I just think that Cleveland is going to have a little bit more control over this game. They don't have Deshaun Watson, so they're going to absolutely need Jerome Ford to pound the rock out. And I think that that's where he'll be able to provide the fantasy value. That's at least where my thoughts are.
See, it got me going into that game, or because I was looking, at placing my bets and stuff, and they just did not have the money line or the spread posted for the Ravens Browns game all
Right
night
now?
last night, all day today.
Okay.
And I was wondering why, because everything was being said that was that Deshaun was going to play.
He said
And
he's going
then
to
it
play, which
and
I
then it
hated.
comes out today, this morning, that Deshaun is out and then it starts so I'm telling you, when Vegas knows everything.
Yeah.
Like if something seems weird on a bet to you, it seems weird because you don't have the information, and that.
It's
But
not
now
that you
even
pulling the wool over their
well,
eyes.
still though, what's wild to me, and like I said, Vegas knows, but you're starting a rookie in Dorian Thompson Robinson. Like, I love his game. Everybody loved what he did in the preseason. He was the preseason darling this year. But how the hell are the Ravens only a minus 1.5 favorite going into this game? I don't care if they're on the road going into Cleveland. That them not being at least a 5-point favorite just blows my mind. That tells me everything. Like, I just want to throw $50 on the Ravens spread right there at minus 1.5. But it also terrifies me because, like I said, what does Vegas know that we don't know? Because, I mean, well,
About
Bateman and OBJ are out. So it's not like Baltimore really has any passing targets, but their two best ones, and Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews, are still there. Like, and I know Cleveland has a really good defense, but still, it does not make sense to me why that line is what it is.
I think it's because the only two people that Lamar will be able to give the ball to are Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews, and they're not uncoverable. I mean, Mark Andrews is a big body guy that he makes his catches at the point of attack. That's why he's so useful. It's not because he's super fast or can pull the top off. Now, Zay Flowers is all those things, but with him being the only other guy out there, I mean, they can slide everybody to his side and dare Lamar to throw it at other people, knowing that he's not as comfortable, knowing that he's not going to have as much room for error because those guys aren't as good as receivers. They're not going to make the play no matter what. So, I don't think that Cleveland easily wins this game with missing Deshaun. I just think that their team is more built around our quarterback doesn't matter. It hasn't mattered for years. Look at the success they've had since before they had Baker. I mean, they
Mm-hmm.
were making the playoffs and stuff. So yeah, that's my thoughts behind Jerome Ford. Obviously, Brees Hall is not some. I mean, we're looking to drop him off of the team like this. Joe Mixon was the hard one to not play because he's had such a good year. But playing against Tennessee, they have such a good defense against the run. I mean, Joe Mixon does receive the ball some, but not really. He really gets his work in between the tackles, and the Cincinnati offense hasn't been explosive enough for him to just be an every week start for me. Matchup wise, if it's a good matchup, I'm going to play him every week. And then Pickens versus Houston, that was the hard one for me to not put in over Jerome Ford because this is a heavy wide receiver league with two wide receivers, two flexes. Pickens just seems like the better start. I have Jamison Williams coming back next week, so these decisions will become a lot easier in the future. But yeah, that's where my thoughts have been.
Now, while we're just touching on everything, the London game is wrapped up. Jaguars take it 23-7. Trevor
Nice.
Lawrence finishes with 207 yards and 23 of 30 passing, one touchdown, zero interceptions. Travis Etienne, 55 yards on 20 carries. You want to see that go up. But Trevor Lawrence
Yeah,
gave you 42 yards on 8 carries.
which a
Christian
couple of
Kirk,
them were. I mean, he was
Christian
dashing
Kirk,
out there.
we said it in the episode on Friday. Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram both did what we expected to. Christian Kirk, 8 receptions, 84 yards. Evan Ingram, 7 receptions, 59 yards. In a revenge game, now we did say Calvin Ridley, because of AJ Terrell, was going to take a little step back, but he only got 2 targets in this whole game. Now, he caught both for 38 yards and 1 touchdown. I needed 2 more yards out of you for my parlay, Calvin, but it's okay. Whatever, buddy. But
You know, he probably had himself for 40 as well.
Bijan at this point is the only rosterable Falcon. Like, I have Kyle Pitts. He's on the trade block immediately. He's just
Yep.
not effective. They don't use him the way they need to. Drake London, same thing. 7 targets, which you love to see that.
And a touchdown.
3 receptions, 28 yards and a touchdown. Now, how many of those targets are the coverage? How many of those targets are Desmond Ritter because the guy just can't throw for over 200 yards, finished at
They've got
191 today?
they've got Heineke. What? Why are they like not even thinking? I mean, I get that he's like
I think it
30.
I think at this point you've got to start looking at Heineke. Now, there's Falcons are still 2-2, so it's not like their season's over. Desmond Ridder, he's still a young guy, but to me, it's one of those to where at this point he hasn't even shown you flashes.
Mm-mm.
He's just
Nothing.
shown you nothing. To where with Tua, all this shit against him, he still showed you flashes. Daniel Jones, for all the stuff against him, he still showed you flashes. Like these guys will show you flashes to let you know something is there. I don't see nothing with Desmond Ridder. Like there's nothing there that excites me. There's nothing there that lets me know this is their guy moving forward. Like absolutely, like if you own Desmond Ridder on your roster, I don't know why, but he's immediately like your ultimate drop guy for your next person. So that's the wrap up on that game. So London series number 1 is down. Jaguars take it basically at home at their second home.
And we're going to talk about it on the Monday episode because it was just so entertaining. But that Toy Story stream was the best thing I've seen that's not football,
Bro,
that's trying to be
no.
football ever.
I pulled it up and I put up the normal stream with the Toy Story stream on my like same screen here to see like, oh, okay, are they just having them run for 7 yards? Like, no. If Bijan made a juke, the Toy Story stream made a juke. Like, I don't know
Yes,
how they augmented these guys into that technology is insane. It
it
also
is.
terrifies me because it means in the future, are we even going to get actual players? Or are we just going to get Toy Story for the rest of our lives? Which I mean, I'm
Or
kind of here
whatever
for it,
skin
but
over it.
then
The
it also the
Halo
whole
themed
NFL
football.
is rigged. The NFL is rigged. If you're giving me Toy Story every week, I'm
Yeah,
absolutely going to think
yeah.
it's
There
rigged.
we go.
But
Now
no,
I'll
that stream
say
was awesome.
one negative is from like a trying to like see film and see what players are doing. You don't get to see the point of attack. It was very inaccurate, but super cool. Like for kids and for trying to get people into
To
football.
try to get
That
kids into football, yes.
I
Like that's
loved
their
it.
goal, and I loved it.
Oh,
And like you put into the group chat, like they're trying to teach us how to play, and it's like no, they're trying to teach the kids. Like, look, offensive line is important, and this is why. And it's very basic stuff. But
yep.
like I said, I was like, it's Saturday morning cartoons for adults that you can also trick your kids into watching. Like, look, hey, they're in Andy's room. Check this out. Oh, touchdown. Hey, how about
And the
that?
Duke
You want to know what a
Duke
touchdown
Kaboom
is?
halftime show.
The Duke
Oh, it was
Kaboom.
hilarious.
Yes.
Hilarious.
Oh, it was great. I absolutely love it. Completely much better than the Nickelodeon version.
So, final team for me to look at: Joe Mixon, Devin Achan, Kenneth Gainwell, Justice Hill, Jalen Warren are the starting potential running backs. We went with Joe Mixon, Devin Achan, obviously. Now we said in the just on the previous team that we're not playing Joe Mixon based off of the matchup. Whenever the only potentials below him are Kenneth Gainwell, Justice Hill, and Jalen Warren, we're putting in Joe
You got
Mixon.
to.
Like,
You
I
have
mean
to.
that there's no way that those guys' floors are higher than his. Now, some of their
You're
ceilings
also
could be
projecting and hoping that the Bengals are going to be up in this game,
exactly.
which leans more towards Joe Mixon getting work in the run game. And for as much as P. Ryan was used last year out of the passing game, they've allowed Joe Mixon to become one of those targets out of the backfield as well, to where he's pulling down 4 to 5 catches. Like, he might only get you 20 to 25 yards, but that's why we play PPR.
Exactly. Or at least the half. And then receiver wise, Justin Jefferson again, Chris Olave. We're going with Zay Flowers over Jerry Jeudy. I probably, hindsight being 2020, would have just put Romeo Doubs in. He's been having such a great season. In the future, he'll be my easy flex. But Jerry Jeudy's got Chicago. He's also got 3 other receivers that he has to compete with between Cortland Sutton, Marvin Mims, and Brandon, I think, Johnson, 89. Mm-hmm. And I'm just knowing who's going to get the targets and who's going to get everything. And, the Broncos defense is going to be on the field just as long as the Bears defense is. So I don't think that it's Zay Flowers being one of 2 people. He's going to have to get targets. And targets is what we go for. We don't go for yards and touchdowns because those are unable to be... We can't guess how many yards or touchdowns someone's going to get. But we can guess
Targets
how many
equal
targets.
opportunities, and opportunities is what you want to see. Like, you want a running back like Etienne. For all I said, he got 55 yards, a
But
total of
20 carries?
72 yards on the day, but 20 carries, and he got 3 receptions out of the backfield. So 23 total touches for the guy. Like, that's what you want to see,
Yep.
because that just, the opportunities equal it up to where you just need one play and he can bust open a 25-yard run.
Or even more, Etienne was a player last year that he would have these mediocre games and then he would explode for 30 points in 1 week. His
Mhm.
ceiling is that he's capable of being that type of a player. That's why we're playing him. If they keep giving him these touches, they know that he's going to explode 1 week. So it's just the game plan for them. And the that offense is such a good offense to be a part of. I love having the number one running back. I'm still looking at Tank Bigsby because I don't know if ETN lasts all year. So Bigsby could be an easy stash play just for that alone.
Oh, he's absolutely the handcuff you have to have, because as soon as ETN goes down, I think Bigsby has shown him enough to where he'd be able to carry the load for a little while.
Yep, he'll be the three down basically because he already comes in on passing downs a lot, just to block,
And
and they love
you
running
know,
with him on the goal line.
just because I've got the highlights going here, what really chaps me, especially as a Kyle Pitts owner, is the fact that Jonnu Smith got 6 targets, 6 receptions for 95 yards. Kyle Pitts got 4 targets, 2 receptions, 21 yards. Like, how does that happen? Like, I know Jonnu's a great athlete, and he was solid for Tennessee, just didn't get the work he should have in New England. But I mean, damn, dude. Like, you drafted this guy number 3 overall for his athleticism, and you just do not use it. Like, Arthur Smith needs to be put in jail.
I think that you have to blame Ritter at a point that he can't. So they were talking about on the broadcast that after the second pick, that all that the defense was doing was legitimately just staying on whoever his first read was, and then just covering them. And that's
Mhm.
all that they. He watched down the field, down the field, down the field. There's the guy in the middle. Let me throw it right to the free safety. Like, what are you doing, Desmond? You have people that are there to help you, like Taylor Heineke, that's a real quarterback. He knows how to look off of a defender.
He's a
If
gamer.
he's exactly, if this man's not listening to his coaching, I mean, that right there. That's a high school quarterback move to just stare down your receiver. Even in college, they're not doing that anymore. In college, they're starting to look people off and having a third and fourth read. So there's no excuse in the NFL at the highest level. I thought that it was crazy the Falcons won their first 2 games because the fact that they're not going for Caleb Williams or whoever the second best quarterback is out of this draft with all the playmakers they have on offense, it's crazy to me. I mean,
Mhm.
they've got 3 first round talents at every skill position possible. All that they need is a quarterback.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. And I mean, especially with how stacked this quarterback class is projected to be this year coming out, I absolutely would think they'd be trying for a top 5 pick. But like I said, I think it's to the point to where fans start clamoring for Heineke. They're, even though they're 2-2, their 2 wins, it's not like they were that impressive, or like Ritter just absolutely just dominated. So yeah. Now, before we jump off and everything like that, obviously we've got to get into a little bit. What are we expecting out of this Dolphins Bills game?
73-0 for sure.
83. Nice. Set the record.
Loving it.
Got it.
Yeah, there we go. And they don't put up
100
anything.
143 points in 2 weeks, back-to-back weeks. Got it.
There we go.
Nice.
Nobody will say we're the number one. That's the thing that's been pissing me off is everyone keeps saying that the Bills are the number 2 offense. They have 24 less points scored than us. We've only played 3 games. They have 24 less points. Don't say that they're the number 2 defense. They're the number 10 defense. The Dolphins have the number 1 through 9 offense. I'm sorry, offense. I've been saying defense this whole time. They're not the number 2 offense. They're the number 10 offense. Dolphins have 1 through 9, and everyone else starts from there. It's not even close, dude. If you look at the overall, the offense, passing, pass blocking, receiving grades that this team has been getting, they're across the board the best. I don't understand how anybody is picking the Bills, including Vegas right now. I think the Dolphins keep it close. I think it's going to be a super close game. I don't think that we're going to put up more than 35, but I think that we're going to put up 35. I don't think we're going to give up more than 27.
Yeah, I think the over under for the Dolphins team total last I looked was about 24.5. But like I said, this is one of those games like I'll bet player props, but betting a side or an over under just absolutely terrifies me because of just how these games go historically to
Yeah.
where Tua and Josh Allen probably both going to throw for about 225, 250 yards. I think they're both projected around 270. So, I mean, that's all. Like, you can build a nice player prop parlay from them. I think one I've got set up for them is Tua and Josh Allen, both 225 plus, Tyreek and Stephon, both 50 plus, Mostert 40 plus, and Waddle 40 plus. Feel like that's pretty solid. If you give me a decent back and forth offensive game, those
Yeah.
numbers should hit. So, but then it's also very well, Mostert could run for 120 yards and it's just a ground game and it ends 14-17. Like
See,
I
I've
said, this game just it terrifies me, but it's one of those to where you're just not wanting it to really be a blowout on either side unless, you're just a fan on one side of the team cuz as a Dolphins fan, I'd love to see 70-3 again.
so Tyreek has scored in every game so far this year, right? He has 3 touchdowns on the year.
I believe he
Or
has
was it 2
4.
in week 1? Yeah,
Yeah,
because
I
it
believe
was
he has
2
4.
in. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that continues. I think that he gets a touchdown. I put a parlay for him, uh, Travis Kelsey to get another touchdown, and Kenneth Walker versus the Giants. I feel like it should be a bit of a shootout game, and they love to
Mhm.
give it to Kenneth within the 20. So I think he should be able to pull out a touchdown. I honestly would have preferred something else over Kenneth, but he was the best option on Prize Picks. For like they're gonna give me $25 if I hit this bet for 3 people to score a touchdown, and all 3 of them should absolutely score a touchdown. I can't believe that they're like 3 and 5 and 10x is across the board. That's why they don't
Yeah,
let you
how
choose
much are you
everybody.
having to bet to win
Five
that
bucks.
25?
Five
Okay.
bucks. It's a
Yeah.
5x on three
Yeah.
people.
I was gonna
If I did
that
four
sounds
people,
about
it's
right.
10x.
That sounds about right. I think if you were to put those 3 into FanDuel, let's see. Who are your guys?
Tyreek, Travis, and Kenneth Walker. Austin's been calling him Kenneth Runner all week.
Yeah, when he does that, it throws me off completely because I'm like, wait, who?
That was a joke that I made the first week that Kenneth Walker went off. Honestly, I was listening to the fantasy footballers, and they do Monday Pun Day, where they do a bunch of puns about like this week who did bad and who did good. And someone said Kenneth Runner, and I thought it was hilarious. So I said it in our show, and Austin's loved it. He's like not dropped it since.
All right. So Tyreek, Kenneth, and Kelsey. So on FanDuel, if you bet 5 on that, 5 wins you 22.37. So you're getting
So
a
pretty
couple
close.
extra bucks from Prize Picks. Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, I like that. Christian McCaffrey's a good one too, but he's literally like minus 250 because the guy has scored a touchdown and I think it's like 11 straight games. It's
And
insane.
more. It's more. I think it was 12 because he broke the 49ers record, or he tied Jerry Rice's record for most
Yeah.
consecutive games with a
It's
touchdown,
it,
which was
it's
12
insane.
last week.
He scores every week and it doesn't matter. It's through the air or on the ground. He's always in control. When you're talking McCaffrey, you're talking fantasy bowl, you know?
There you go. I've been hearing a lot of people say that they expect the Dolphins to hit the road bump this week. That the Cowboys have hit their road bump and the Bills hit their road bump week 1. So the Bills are good. The Bills don't have another road bump. They already hit theirs. So I think that's
So
crazy. I
my
have
thought
not
on
seen a
it,
more motivated Dolphins team ever.
my thought on it is just knowing Dolphins Twitter and Bills Twitter. If the Dolphins lose this game, just stay off of Twitter because it's just going to be nothing but just asinine takes back and forth. The way I look at it, if the Dolphins lose this game, we went through the first 4 weeks, came out of it 3-1, played 3 out of 4 games on the road,
Against
and we
playoff teams.
again we finish 4 out of 5 at home to end the season. Like to me, you start the first 4 weeks, no matter who those first 4 games are, You come out of it 3-1, you're sitting pretty good. So, like for me, to me, this game means much more to the Bills than it does for the Dolphins. Because, like I said, if the Dolphins win this game, they start out 4-0. The Bills drop to 2-2, two losses being divisional opponents. They don't get to play Miami again until the last week of the season in Miami. And
Which,
very well at that point, just depending on how the rest of the season goes, that game very well just couldn't even matter, because if the Dolphins already have a win versus the Bills and they own that tiebreaker, that doesn't matter. So
yeah.
that's where this game means so much more to the Bills than it does for the Dolphins. But like you said, these Dolphins players are coming into Buffalo hungry, trying to prove a point. They lost to Buffalo in the playoffs last year by 3 points with Skylar Thompson. The whole thing has been, let Tua play y'all, because the game Tua did play you guys in, you lost.
Yep.
And then in Buffalo, when Tua was coming off of two of his worst games of his career, they only beat you by 3 points. Like
Literally.
in
And then
Buffalo,
Skylar
in the
Thompson
snow,
in Buffalo in the
in the snow.
playoffs,
Exactly.
3-point victory. Like,
For
come
me,
on.
this
Our
this
defense
game
is so much better now as well.
this game means much more to Buffalo than it does to Miami. But for a Miami fan to start 4-0 and just kick the teeth in on the Bills, you want nothing more than that. So like it's this game being at 1:00 is an absolute crime.
I don't think that it's possible for an NFL football team to go undefeated through the Super Bowl in today's era. There's just too many variables that are going to take place, too much adversities that's going to happen throughout the season, people getting hurt, whatever. So being 4-0, 5-0, 10-0, it doesn't matter for the undefeated season. It matters for the playoffs. And for listening to McDaniel talk in his post game and in the locker room speech about not going for the record, and about how going for the record doesn't get us any closer to the Super Bowl, that's the mentality of this team. They are so laser focused on winning the most important game of the year. Every other game is just to get them there. So I think that they come into this game focused for this game because it matters to them. I think that next game is going to be the same. It's going to be very difficult for teams to stop us whenever our defense is top 15 and our offense is number 1. Now, if our defense can increase to being top 5 or top 10, like, we know the talent is there for them to be able to do it, the Dolphins are going to be an unstoppable force. We're probably going to drop one game, but it's not going to be in the playoffs and it's not going to be in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I don't expect to sweep the Bills, and if we're going to lose one to them, I'd rather it be this one. Early in the season in Buffalo, fine. Go ahead, drop one. Let the Bills feel good about themselves. Let
I'd
the
rather it
Bills,
be because we didn't need to win it.
because
You know
we
what I mean?
sat everybody in. It was
Yeah.
Mike
I'd
White
rather
playing.
give
Yeah.
that game.
Yeah,
Oh,
that'd
here
be-
you go, guys. Don't worry about it.
Here you
got
go.
that
Take
one.
this victory. You can have this one. Jump through this table.
Oh man, game time's getting close.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's almost time to have to jump off. Put in any last minute bets, any last minute moves. You got anything else for the people? Any hot
Jamison
takes
Williams,
for today?
Add Jamison Williams to your waiver wire today, so you don't forget on Monday.
He's
If
been
he's
on my
available-
IR for my dynasty league the whole season.
I have him in 2 of my 5 leagues, and he's available on one waiver wire. There's no way I'm going to get him. I'm on like 7th. So unless 6 people just aren't paying attention, then I'm not going to get him. But 2 leagues that I've got him, one I've got him and Kamara, and I'm so happy that he's coming back. Because Kamara, we're going to get to see today.
If
We're
those
gonna get to
6
see what
people
he looks
happen to
like.
listen to the episode, just for all intents and purposes, Jamison Williams actually is out for the rest of the season, so there's no point.
No, guys, just take him. Take him from me and listen to the episode every week. We'll help you out. And there he is at the end, just as we're signing off. Austin, tell all the people where they should go to get all their tea needs.
PostHeroesTea.com, baby. You already
There
know.
he is.
Sip up.
There
Let's
we go. Later.